Welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with your hosts, Buddy Sotello, Esquire, and Evan Ginzburg. Evan, would you like to introduce our guest for tonight?
Absolutely. His name is Steve Savage. He's a veteran wrestler, debuted for NWA New England in 2001. In 2011, opened Grindhouse Championship Wrestling, later became an NWA affiliate, and he's still out there. He's my friend Steve Savage. How are you tonight, Steve?
I'm doing good, Evan. I'm doing, well, as good as we can, you know?
There you go. There you go. And I see you have a Red Sox jersey on. Buddy Sotello's a big sports fan. What do you think of the Red Sox, buddy?
Look, it's got to be the San Francisco Giants or nobody, pal. So,
yes.
You know, hopefully maybe we'll see you guys in the World Series. That would be a pretty exciting World Series.
It'd be interesting to see the Red Sox in the World Series, period. Well,
they've had their ups and downs of recent. You guys certainly don't lack titles for all your efforts. You guys were the sad sacks and the near Chicago Cubs for so many years. And then when you guys broke that mold, you know, you were winning titles hand over fist for quite a while there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So have you lived in Boston your entire life?
I actually live in Rhode Island.
Okay.
I call myself the Boston Badass because outside of the Northeast, if I say I'm from Woonsocket, Rhode Island, people just kind of look at you like, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
So geographically, it just makes more sense.
Well, I think those of us who watch Family Guy have a much greater appreciation for that part of the country now. And
there actually is a bar called the Drunken Clam.
Oh, really?
There is. I don't remember what town it's in, but last I knew it was for sale.
Have you always? But you grew up in that part of the country?
Yeah. I've been in the Northeast my whole life.
Okay. So tell me how you got started with wrestling overall.
Well, to be honest, I took the old school backdoor method of shut your mouth, respect the veterans, and help out and pray for the best. When I started with NWA New England, it was kind of, not to talk overly negatively, but it was kind of improper training. I was basically just their bump guy to put their stars over.
But how did you even get a hold of NWA in New England to start with?
I had a friend who was working for RF Video at the time at a little kiosk they had set up at a mall, and through him started doing like commentary and wrestling for him. And the school was the NWA New England school run by Jason Rumble was about 10 minutes down the road from where I lived at the time. So I just kind of showed up, took some bumps, and they just kept using me until they closed.
Well, what got you to really love wrestling? Where did you first develop your love of wrestling?
Just years of watching it, between the early Eastern Championship Wrestling stuff when it was in syndication, like 92, 93, and then like obviously the mainstream golden era, attitude era stuff just kind of brought me into it, and I don't know, I've always enjoyed it.
But were there certain stars when you were growing up that you saw wrestle that made you want to be like them, and you try to borrow your character parts of who you've been in the ring?
Well, lately it's been more of like the past 10 years. It's been more of evolved into like a New Jack type. But growing up, I was looking at like
an opening. I heard there's an opening here.
A friend of mine called me Cracker Jack, and I'm like, don't let him ever hear you call me that.
Yes.
I grew up. I always loved the heels. I was into the $1 Million Man, IRS. Jake Roberts, just the cold, calculated types.
So, Evan, I'm sure you have a few questions.
Yeah, we always talk about the indies because Buddy was a heel manager, and I've been involved in various capacities as well. And what's your take on the pluses and minuses of indies in 2021? I could do my 30-second spiel. You don't need 14 matches. You don't need a 6-hour card. You don't need ticket sellers. But what's your take on everything?
Well, my take on it is wrestling's like ice cream. There's different flavors of it for everybody. Some people live and die by tradition, by the if you throw them over the top rope, you're disqualified. Some people live by the deathmatch standard. It all depends on what you like as a fan. I always try to tell people there's more than what you see on cable television or even the YouTube shows like AEW and NWA Power. But they say there's no good wrestling. It's kind of like saying there's no good music. There is good wrestling out there. There's just, quite frankly, a lot of shit you got to dig through.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time that when people make these comments, there's been no good wrestling since the territories. None. How narrow-minded and absurd that is. I mean, I look at Kenny Omega and Okada like Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair, and people go, "Oh, they're just spot monkeys." And I'm like, "What are you?"
Might be, but they're still making more money than the guys that are complaining about them.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sit in an indie card, and again, it's unfortunate that many of them are endless. They don't need to be 4, 5, 6 hours, but during that card, inevitably you watch some kid or some veteran who, for whatever reason, just wasn't picked up by a major organization, and you go, that guy's excellent. This match is excellent. And many times, I'll tell you a quick story. I was at a card years ago, and there's Bray Wyatt wrestling his last indie match, and they're all saying goodbye to him. He was just signed by WWE, and I'm watching the match. I'm like, this guy's great, and you never know what you're going to see. And my other spiel that I tell people is for 10, 15, 20 bucks, with the exception of maybe free concerts, there's no better entertainment value. I mean,
you can't even get into a concert for less than $30 these days, and that's just the parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, to take a family and kids where they can meet the wrestlers, take pictures with them, and really be part of it. I used to take my best friend's nephew and his little buddies to go to Ring of Honor and to go to Indies. We never took them to WWE. They loved it.
I saw one WWF house show when I was, I think, 7 or 8. And, this is how far back it was. One of the matches was Bam Bam versus Tatanka.
Right. 90s.
But then I started going out to, the indie shows, and Killer Kowalski had his promotion that he was running. I think it was Chaotic at the time. And there was all these other companies, and then when I got in with RF Video, started going to a lot of the Ring of Honor shows, and I saw better stuff at Ring of Honor that I would see on a Monday night over the course of 6 months.
Bryan Danielson against Nigel McGuinness was also, like Dory Funk and Jack Briscoe. It was art. It was art. And, Ring of Honor, again, they go, oh, they're midgets, they're spot monkeys. It's ridiculous. These are great, great wrestlers. And a chunk of them ended up in WWE, regardless of size.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The business evolves, and, you either evolve with it, or, you're going to be sitting at conventions, or you're just going to be sitting there buying tickets.
I just never quite understood there's been no good wrestling since the 80s. That's a long time ago. It's an ignorant thing to say.
And there's been a lot of good wrestling since. You just got to look.
A lot of great wrestling since. You could watch Wrestle Kingdom and in one night, see one great match after another for New Japan, and I just don't understand the narrow-mindedness, and it's like why. You're kind of like digging a grave, like it's over and done with, and it's not. It's not. And I love and support indies.
A lot of the reasons these companies are, this company sucks. Well, why are they drawing as many fans as they can? It's because those fans don't realize there are other options out there.
Now, did you find Did you find it hard for your federation to get through the COVID crisis, and how did you find a way to get through it?
My promotion closed in 2014, 2015. We shut our doors.
Okay.
The money just ran out.
A typical story,
Typical,
unfortunately.
like, sponsors and certain guys that egos just clashed, and my theory is guys that are on an indie show wondering why they're not booked. Well, I booked you the past 6 months, twice a month, and you haven't done anything. Why am I going to book you on what's my biggest show of the year? From a promoter's standpoint, like, I get it. You're a tag team, and you're over with your, friends and family that you bring with you that you sneak in through the back door and they don't buy tickets.
Yeah.
But it's just business decision, and I got to the point where I was running it by myself, doing the booking, doing the promoting, doing the flyering, doing the ring crew by myself. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what? I don't have it in me to do this. I've been around long enough to where I can still take bookings and have it not cost me anything to do. So it just became one of those, I'll just take the bookings I get and be happy.
I was talking to a promoter the other day, and I said, you're better off with a crew of good wrestlers who heavily promote and cut promos and really work to put the company over than a bunch of great wrestlers who do nothing and draw flies.
Absolutely. I had a bunch of very talented guys, but they refused to do anything. We had booked Jason Knight and Hoss Canton, who was a journeyman who's been all around the world. And why is there an ECW original outside handing out flyers? Oh, because you schmucks had 3 weeks to hang flyers up, and they sat on your desk.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't we draw 20 people? Well, why didn't you hang the 5,000 flyers that I left at your office?
Flyers have a 1 to 2% success rate, so the Flyers alone should have drawn 50 to 100 people, but they don't draw anything if they're sitting on a desk.
Yeah. One of the old Yankee Pro guys from like way back in the day told me something, and it was, this business is about two things: pay-per-view buys and an ass every 18 inches, or in these days, an ass every 6 feet, I suppose.
Yes.
But it makes sense, because without the fans buying the tickets, what the hell are we doing it for?
Yeah. Today with the technology, you could literally whip out a camera and cut a promo in 5 minutes. It's not like it's any great effort, Last week, my friend Simply Splendid Bobby C, who I do a little managing with, we traveled almost 3 hours to have this beautiful locale, and we're like, this is Bobby's island, this is Bobby's yacht, But and the guy, he's not a kid. He has nothing to prove at this point. But the kids, the kids who have the technology don't want to be bothered. Don't comment on Raw. Plug your matches. Come on.
People always invite me to shows, and I said, am I booked? They said, no. I said, then why am I going to go? Why am I going to put my money in another promoter's pocket? They're not booking me. Why am I going to go buy a ticket? I have no business to be there. To me, that's like supporting your competition.
It's great to have a 6-pack of abs, but if you can't draw 6 people, why do we need you on the card?
It's I draw enough to keep me satisfied and to keep me working at the 4 or 5, 6 promotions that I get booked at. It's enough for me, because at this point I've been around 20 years, and if I haven't been noticed by the big boys yet, I'm not gonna be. I accept that lot in life, but I still like doing it, and I appreciate the few hundred fans that I do have, because they're always going to be there. If I say I'm coming to your town, I know there's going to be at least 10 people in that audience that are there just because I said, hey, I'm showing up.
What do you consider some career highlights? Have you worked with some legends, some great matches you've had?
Honestly, career highlight for me was probably being welcomed into the business officially in like 2009 Tommy Cairo.
He was great. I know Tommy. Yeah.
I've worked with him a couple times. We've spoken on the phone repeatedly. He's become a very good friend and mentor to me. And the fact that, a guy that I grew up watching on TV, I brought a kendo stick to a match that I was doing, and the kendo stick was kind of like my gimmick. And he signed it, The Passing of the Cane, Tommy Cairo. And I was like, you know what? That to me says I'm doing something right.
Tommy's very underrated. He's such a great wrestler and great personality. I saw him many times in New York. I'd say about 15, 20 years ago, but the guy was tremendous.
Yeah. Oh, he's still got a hell of a mind for the business, too.
So, I wanted to ask you about your the federation that you did run, Grindhouse, and what you what inspired you to choose the name Grindhouse for. Evan brings it up quite a bit that he was in the original Grindhouse theater.
42nd Street, Times Square Grindhouse.
Yeah. The original idea came from watching hours of Tarantino and Rodriguez films.
Yeah.
And I actually got a letter from Tarantino, said, I know you're doing something completely different from what I'm doing. I just wanted to say I love your logo. Because we had a very similar font with like the bloody handprint above the house. And it got to the point where I was like, I started getting a little worried. I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to have heat with Tarantino. And just as a theater major, that's something I don't want. So I just decided to change it to GCW. But then when we became an NWA affiliate, Fred Richards came in and we were then called NWA Grindhouse. We were basically the hardcore promotion of the NWA.
Now, how did you get that connection with the NWA? I'm fascinated about that.
At the time, I think it was Bruce Tharp that was in charge. Fred Richards was also on the board. I had run a very large 3-promotion charity event to make up for an incident that happened in Vermont or New York when the promoter ran off with the gate. So the promotion out in Long Island, SWA, and Phil Varlice's Coastal sent a bunch of their guys down. I brought my guys in, and we put on the charity show for these guys for this kid Cole, who had like an undiagnosed condition. Unfortunately, Cole passed. He didn't live to see, I think, even 12. But we raised over $10,000 that night for the family.
Wow.
So Frankie Stars, who was there with La Parca USA and Haas Canton, said, look, we're going to put you in touch with Fred. And Fred was like, we'd like to invite you to become part of the National Wrestling Alliance. And to me, just as a journeyman for as long as I've been, I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? To me, those 3 letters still mean something.
Do you know that La Parca USA was Mambo King, and he just passed from COVID?
Yep. Well, there was the other La Parca USA. I think it's La Parca USA Junior, Rocky Badabino.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they were 2.
Oh, he had me doing the La Parca USA, the 3rd gimmick, as a tag team with him for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I assume it's kind of like Doink. If you have the gear, it's okay.
And speaking of passing, I'd be remiss. I want to dedicate this show to wrestling superfan John Thorne, who passed the other day,
right.
And also New York area indie wrestler Crazy Don Rock, who I saw many times, and both passed this week. So I just wanted to acknowledge them. And it's been a tough year with COVID. Lost a lot of wrestler friends and people in the business, and what can you say?
It's been tough on everybody. It's sad anytime anyone goes, but when you see your fans starting to go, it hurts a little more. It hits a little different.
Yeah, there's a much stronger connection with indie fans and indie wrestlers. You see the same faces, you get to know them. I've seen many times indie fans go, I want to buy another one of your T-shirts. I want to buy another picture because they want to support you. And it's very different than sitting last row in an arena at a WWE show, which is totally
I had a fan,
impersonal.
she hit me up on Facebook and she's like, "Oh, can I get one of your pictures?" I said, "Oh, which one?" And I showed her the 4 designs. She's like, "I'll take one of each." I was like, "Really? All right, sure."
So where do you see where do you see your future in professional wrestling, right now?
As far as the future goes, I think I'm going to do it in ring as long as I still can and as long as people still want to see me. But when it comes time to where I can't physically perform anymore, I would love some sort of backstage gigs somewhere, because just being around the environment, despite all the all the bullshit attached to it, it's still just kind of a soothing environment for me. It's kind of like therapeutic for me,
Huh.
It's as close as I'll ever be to a Hollywood stuntman.
Let me just throw something in, though. I've had friends work the indies who had 16 concussions, many, many different surgeries. You have to know when to go, because I've had wrestlers say to me, "Evan, I'm always in pain. Always in pain." So, there is that line that you don't want to cross,
Well, there's that line. I mean, I'm closer to 40 than I am to 20, so...
Have you had any big injuries from...
I was diagnosed with CTE about 4 years ago, just due to being in the ring with people that didn't know how to work the proper way for certain things. There's ways to take a chair shot to where you don't have to kill each other. But these guys come from like that Balls Mahoney mindset of don't sell it unless you see white spots. And I'm like, you smack me in the head that much with a chair, and if I'm still standing, you better run.
Yeah, wow.
At the end of the day, we all got families to feed. I mean, I've separated my shoulder a couple times, broke ribs a couple times. My knees are shot. The cartilage isn't there anymore. So I mean, which kind of helps because I don't like to run anyway, and I've certainly never been one of those spot monkey types. Like, I heard a guy in the crowd yell one time. I got on the top rope once, and he was like, "You don't belong up there." I'm like, "I know," and then I dove off.
Yeah. Well, Steve, plug anything you want to plug.
Let's see. August 21st, I'm going to be in Plattsburgh, New York for Fight for a Cause Wrestling. I'm going to be working a hardcore match against the guy who calls himself Tim the Legend Lacey. He's going to have a special enforcer, and Barry Horowitz is actually going to be in my corner.
Yeah, he's great.
Wow. Say hi to Barry Horowitz for me. I worked a match against him in the year 2000. The one way he'll remember against Super Destroyer 2000 was the ref. He missed the spot call with the ref. And so we had a spinning toe hold that lasted for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And he probably will remember that. We were all like saying, "Come on, take it home, Barry, take it home." And he just, he was playing the crowd and stuff like that. We were all just like, where's the cutoff for the end of this match? And it just never came. And so finally, he small cradled him, but he small packaged him. But it was like, we're all just like going, "Come on." And for a while I was thinking, did I miss the damn spot? Oh, he was in the ring with Tom Castor, who is now a WWE referee, a full-time referee in the WWE. So when you see Barry Horowitz, ask him about the All-Pro Wrestling match that he did against Super Destroyer 2000, Mark Bison Smith, because that's where I worked the show with
that story. He's gonna probably laugh his ass off.
Yeah, well, he was great though. It was tough though because we were heels and he wanted to be the heel, and we're like, okay, you always do right by outside talent, so you let the outside talent be the heel. But it was so awkward to try to be a heel manager with a known heel, and we're trying to play face against a guy who was obviously the fans' face favorite that was acting heel, and it was
there's not even a heel or face anymore in the business when you look at it.
We're talking 2000. We're talking,
Oh yeah, back when it meant something.
Yeah. And so, you know, it was one of those things that just was really weird, just trying to be a face when you're normally everybody in the arena sees you as a heel, and trying to put over, you know, Barry Horowitz as a heel when everybody wanted him to be face. And
well, the crowd's going to dictate. You can say you're going to be the heel and I'm going to be the baby. But if we go out there and you get the pop and I get the heat, well, time to flip the script because that's what the crowd wants.
Yes, but you always want to do right by outside talent too. We all wanted to, you know, say, "Hey Barry, if that's what you want, we'll be the faces here," you know. And so it was a crazy match. You'll have to ask him what his thoughts are. If he even remembers it, he's probably done 10,000 matches since then.
Oh, I'm sure we can find footage of it somewhere.
Yeah, if they haven't burned it. At least the last 15 minutes. Anyway, continue to promote your stuff, especially how fans can get a hold of you if they wanted to get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at BBASavage840. You can find me on Facebook, Steve Lawrence. That's the shoot name. If you're on Evan's friends list, find me there. And let's see, it's August 21st, and I think October 26th, don't quote me on that exact date, but I'll be in Newington, Connecticut for SGW.
Well, that's great.
If anybody wants to buy a t-shirt, I have a Pro Wrestling Tees store. It's prowrestlingtees.com/savage840.
Okay, and any other final thoughts that you'd like to, before we bring in our next guest, you know, like about the future of where indie wrestling is headed?
Honestly, my advice to the younger guys, don't just work for your home company. Don't just work for your buddies, because you're not going to get any better wrestling for the same 10, 15 guys every week. And you're not going to get any better wrestling in the same town every week without going anywhere and experiencing anything different.
Thank you. Well, you're a great guest. We'd love to have you on in the future, especially if you've got more to promote. And we're ready to bring in our next guest. So we'll see you again soon.
Thanks
for being on the show.
All right. And joining us, Michael D. Jones, the founder and leader of the Real School Army, owner of NGW Greenroom Media, and also a very strong MMA background. How are you, Michael?
Coach Mike Jones, the coach with the most, coming at you from coast to coast. Don't want to boast, but I'm going to roast. So give a toast with the coach with the most. I'm doing great.
There we go.
Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Great. No, perfect timing and everything. It's great to have you on our show tonight. So where are we reaching you from? Where are you located?
I'm coming at you live from Puyallup, Washington.
Oh, okay. Wow. So up my coast. This time you're on the left side of the dial, because normally we got a lot of East Coast folks. So it's nice to have someone representing the Pacific Northwest for us.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
And I see your background behind you. Tell us about the Jim Rose Circus. What's that about?
Yeah, I toured with the Jim Rose Circus. I got to work with the Jake the Snake and Sin Bodie and Jim Rose. Got to do a few shows in Seattle, Kenwood, Washington, Idaho, and I didn't make it to the Portland one, but you know it was fun. The ones I got to do was a blast. There's nothing like that. Working with Sin, all those guys it's unbelievable.
And what's Jake Roberts like being on the road?
Jake's a really good guy. You know, of course, he's had his ups and downs, but you know, where he's cleaned up, he's recovered, he's come back from the dead.
Yeah.
You know, and I got to also wrestle him down there at Sin Bodie's Freak Show Wrestling in California, where it was an honor to take his DDT and get the snake put on me, which, you know, which of course, I do not like snakes.
Wow. I wonder what it's like for somebody that has like a real phobia of snakes to have that snake on you, because that's a big boy.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I'm pretty sure I have a phobia of snakes, but there was nothing I could do about it. And I wouldn't have traded it for nothing because it was my time.
Look, I'd rather have the snake put on me than Rikishi's big butt stuck in my face.
Yes.
I had the opportunity to take that, and I fortunately passed on this particular move. But can you tell me how you got started in professional wrestling?
Well, I've always been a fan of professional wrestling, and John Owen's promotion in Portland. When I was 18 years old, I called him up and I said, "Hey, Don, I want to come down and I want to be a professional wrestler." I said, "I see all these guys out here who you have on your roster." I said, "I think I could beat at least half these guys." And he only had one question for me. "Did you go to college?" I said, "No." He hung up on me. So I was blown away. My dream was taken away from me. I knew my other options was I could go to Georgia and go to New York. But I was like, man, I'm fresh out of high school and I grew up poor. I mean, I wasn't prepared to take that leap. So my dream was basically taken from me, And then about 10 years later, Dave Debashi had a show going, and he had a fan challenge, which it was basically called Playboy Buddy Rose's Fan Challenge. And I stood up at the show and I said, "I'm willing to do it." And you cannot believe what happened. I had no idea who the Fan Challenge was, okay? So I stood up, and out comes Big Red Wrecking Crew, 6'5", 375
The Undertaker.
World Football League football player. And I went into shock, but instantly I said, "Okay, whatever it takes, I will take you on,
Wow.
And of course, obviously, you can't just jump in the ring. You have to be trained or you're going to be killed.
So what happened?
A year. So
what happened in the ring when you went in the ring for the Fan Challenge?
Well, they wouldn't let me in the ring. They wouldn't let me wrestle him because you got to be trained, and which is fun. I'm fine with that because after about a year and a half of training, and I got to train with Big Red Wrecking Crew, and I was really grateful that he didn't actually kill me because, especially for telling him I was going to take him out and stuff, because I knew it was my only chance. So I just, like I said, I was in shock for a second, but then instantly I just flipped the switch and I was like, okay, whatever it takes. But anyway, so a year and a half later, I got to debut against Northwest legend Billy Two Eagles in 1996, and that was an experience. He's got some of the toughest chops in the professional wrestling. I survived that match. After the match, Billy Two Eagles told me, he goes, "Hey, brother, don't you ever let anybody tell you can't wrestle because he says I can."
Wow. So tell me some of the other people that you worked with in the area.
Snake, like I said, the 5 Most Wanted. I've got some of the best mentors in the world. I have Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan. I've wrestled him many times. He's the mentor of our Real School Army. And the 3 mentors I have right now are Stephan Bonnar, UFC Hall of Famer, Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan, and I'm working on writing my own book, and I have best-selling author and best-selling publishing coach Patrick Snow, who is signed. I signed up for a lifetime contract with him, which I started my book. And I basically wanted to do my mother's book. My mother had muscular dystrophy. She died when she was 34. When I was 18, my brother was 15. She was one of the best persons in the world and that I've ever met up until still. So I would basically want to do her story, but Patrick Snow decided that I should do my story and have my mom's story in it. So that's what I'm doing right now is I'm working on my story. And then I got some short stories that I'm going to try putting into some film festivals. I've got Danny Bonaducci accepted my challenge to avenge Johnny Fairplay, because Johnny Fairplay was my manager before that Danny Bonaducci knocked his teeth out. Danny accepted my challenge. Since then has chickened out. So I'm calling him out in this 15-minute short film that Danny Bonaducci is scared of the coach the most. And I have all the footage ready. I just got to put it together. And then I'm very proud of our Real School Army. We have some of the top wrestlers in the world that have wrestled, that have been in my Real School Army. Cahagas, 3-time world champion. Andrew Anderson, Wes Briscoe, Human Tornado, Andrea the Giant, Pinky Santino, Short Sleeve Samson. I'm starting to draw a blank for a minute.
I think you should do a reality series. You're surrounded by some colorful characters with name value. You know,
yes.
I'm serious. When you start talking about Danny Bonaducci and Johnny Fairplay and Jake the Snake, you have a reality series there, and you're a colorful guy. I think you should look into that. Seriously.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey, and I would love to have you produce some of our stuff. I mean, whatever I need to do. Like I said, I went out of my way to find Patrick Snow. He believes in me big time, okay? He says he's going to make me one of the top publishing coaches and speaking coaches in the world. And not to mention, I had no idea when you write a book that helps you get speaking engagements and coaching jobs and stuff like that. And, hey, well, who better than the coach with the most? My name is the coach.
You'd be a great motivational speaker. I mean, you're a good talker.
And then another thing, I've been blessed, truly blessed. I still, till today, have no injuries. Okay?
Wow.
Not to mention, and I've been in construction my whole life, too. Most people in construction, by the time they're 40, their knees, their back are gone. Not to mention people in wrestling. And I'm well over 40. But I still feel young at heart. I feel 30 years old at heart. Believe it.
Well, wait until you hit the 50s and 60s, then things start really slowing down. You'll some of those things will come back, but hopefully you'll avoid anything really big. But when I think about when you talk about like the heart of wrestling, obviously New York is the first place that's brought up. I always liked, especially one of the reasons why I made this show was to represent California, because a lot of people sort of gloss over what California has contributed to the history of wrestling. But the Northwest, like Portland and Washington and Seattle, Portland and Seattle have really had a great history. A lot of guys that worked the territories in California worked up in Portland, and I even had guys that were in some of the shows that I would work a Saturday night in California, get in the car after working a show ends at midnight, all get up and drive up to Portland and do shows at Portland Pro the next day in Sunday afternoon at a flea market or something up there, or festivals up there. And so there's been, I think, a really strong relationship between California and the other two main cities up in the Northwest. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I've seen some of the top wrestlers in the world at Portland Wrestling and in Seattle. I've seen Flair wrestle Billy Jack. I've seen him wrestle Roddy Piper. I've seen him wrestle Sting in Seattle.
Piper had a huge history along with Buddy Rose. Those two fought some amazing feuds. People don't really remember Piper as much before he came to the NWA, but in Portland, he was a huge deal.
Yeah, and then they used to wrestle in San Francisco and LA a lot, and that's not even the only places in California. Exactly.
Yeah, I grew up on the LA tapings out in New York. We used to see Tolos, Greg Valentine, Hollywood Blondes, Gordman and Goliath. I grew up on the LA territory, just watching it on TV, in my area. So great tradition, yeah.
Yeah, with the original coach, right?
John Tolos.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of that, as I was saying, you're a great talker, and John Tolos was a great promo guy, and they wouldn't let him talk. He's just blowing a whistle. They wouldn't let him. That was ridiculous.
Jeez, huh? Wow, he could have put a lot more butts in the seats,
Yeah, I saw Tolos wrestle Bruno at the Garden. He was a huge name. People don't really remember him as much as they should because there's not a lot of footage left. But he was great. He was an all-time great heel.
And do you borrow what you do in the ring from what John Tolos did? Is that what part of what goes into your, wrestling persona?
No, I really didn't even realize he was the coach. I mean, I knew about him, but he was a little before my time, and I didn't really realize he was the coach until Jonathan Coachman showed up. And now I sort of got upset about that. I'm like, what? They're calling this guy the coach? I've been the coach longer than him, but no, maybe I haven't. His name's Coachman. So, and then somebody told me, no, the actual coach goes back farther, John Tolos. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go back to my reality.
So I asked my previous guest this, and I'll ask it to you. How has NGW survived the COVID period that we've gone through right now?
We basically haven't done anything and don't have anything lined up because, it's really tough, usually I've basically done most everything myself. And like back when I started, it was really nice. I had the Boys and Girls Clubs that allowed us to have, I had my home base at the Boys and Girls Club that I grew up at, and I was a coach at. It was like a lifetime dream and a dream come true. But you never guess what happened. All of a sudden, people from Canada come down, try to come into our territory, give half the wrestlers ultimatums. If you don't come with them, they're going to blackball you. And we didn't fail. We just kept growing, and we started to sell it out. Guess what happened? They bomb threaded the Boys and Girls Club, so we couldn't wrestle there anymore.
Bomb threat? An actual,
domestic terrorism.
Blow it up?
No, they bomb threaded it over the phone, saying if there's going to be wrestling there, they're going to blow up the building. And of course, wouldn't you know it, I won't be wrestling there no more because they can't have wrestling when people are doing that. This was before domestic terrorism basically was a thing. You won't be doing that nowadays, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
But that definitely happened, and then made it through that and started back up in 2009. And then, it's been a struggle. It's like it's hard to get publicity. We've done fundraisers for everything you can think of. And, I've heard there's deals where if you do charities that the news are supposed to give you free publicity. They won't give us the time of day. They want us to pay for advertising, basically, I mean, we've even had deals, we're doing cancer fundraisers, and the anchors are in the middle of cancer on Channel 13 and Channel 7. Still, they don't care. They're not going to say, hey, there's a cancer fundraiser down there. I just mind blown by it. So I've basically done most of the stuff myself, which, it's not easy.
Yeah, tough business.
So what venue do you use now that the Boys and Girls Club isn't there?
The last show we had was at a car lot in Auburn, which was nice. We had it as the car lot sponsored it. We had the Five Most Wanted there, Short Sleeve Samson. We've had Eric Smalls, the midget, and we had Sin Bodie was there, and we just basically had it free. We called it the Fan Appreciation Show. That was the last show we did, was in 2019.
Okay. Are there any plans to start back up in 2020 or 2022?
Yeah, I'm hoping to. And then we're hoping to go to Vegas and possibly go against the 5 Most Wanted for the Cauliflower Alley Tag Team titles, since my Real School Army has 2 victories against 5 Most Wanted. One, Human Tornado beat Sean Casey at Heroes and Legends in Indiana. And then, of course, me and Sin beat Sean Casey and Billy Blade in Auburn at the.
Oh, say hi to Billy Blade for me. I've worked a number of shows with him here in California. He's worked. I've worked a bunch of different shows with him and APW, and he might remember Pro Wrestling Iron, so you can run that by him, and he'll probably say, "Oh, he probably remembers Buddy Sotello." It's moving on to about 15 years, but he was an interesting guy to work with down here in California. And I know Gangrel does a lot of used to do a lot of shows up in the Northwest. I don't know if he worked any shows with him, but he was a really nice guy. And I mean, there's just such a strong history that, you know, I'm proud to see guys like you still fighting to keep it alive, because it would be sad to see it kind of die out, you know, because the WWE does not spend a lot of time focusing on the Northwest. It just sort of takes it for granted, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to do, one of my dreams is to do like a big expo, you know, where I think what I am going to try to do, more than just trying to do a regular NGW show with names, is to try to get a midget shows going, because they seem to draw better. So I got two people to pull through, where Short Sleeve Samson has his midget wrestling warriors, and then Billy Blade has his Micromania wrestlers. So between those two, and then also Short Sleeve's got a show up here in Marysville, Washington, I think. It's like next week. It's sold out like immediately, you know. Wow. So this tour is coming to Washington it's the 19th, I think it is.
Do the World Series of Midget Wrestling.
Exactly.
Seriously. That's a good hook. Yeah.
And then so on the expo that I'm dreaming about one day is to do like wrestling, MMA seminars with Stephan Bonnar and some other people, hopefully to get maybe Tom Lawler and some other people for the MMA seminars. And then I also work with MMA schools here. And then also Stephan Bonnar is a Golden Glove boxer. And then there's a boxing place that I want to work with here called Summit Boxing. So I'll have it wrestling, MMA, boxing. Then I want to have comedy. I want to have the meet and greet, like an expo for like books and other celebrities, you know, and stuff like that. And then maybe even like a talent show. So a big type expo. That's one of my dreams, is to do that. And then before COVID started, or came on, or whatever you call it, I was just really close to doing a 39 county tour in Washington State.
Wow.
That was my goal, was I was going to hit all 39 counties.
Wow.
And then ultimately one day I'd love to hit every county in the United States, of course, like in a 5 or 10 year period, because I feel these places need that. Because like when you go to whatever, like Los Angeles County, for example, what I would do is you would have a small group that goes to the whole tour. But like when you go to Los Angeles, you would pull from that area.
Sure.
You know, so that way it's not only I'm just trying to get myself and my deal over, I'm trying to pool all the resources. It gives you more publicity, and use the people that are strong in that area. So that's another one of my goals.
Let me know when you're headed to Northern California, because I'd certainly want to help you pull the talent up here. Yes, we've got some good talent still here in NorCal that just sort of needs some motivation, and just unfortunately no one is really working to rally a lot of folks, especially once COVID hit, around any one central wrestling federation. So it's really been a lot of very loosely inconsistent indie shows out here.
And another thing that I'm really proud of is I love Korea. My girl is Korean.
Really?
I've been there 3 times. I'm planning on retiring in Korea with her. Okay.
My wife's Korean.
I knew that.
too.
Yes.
Hey,
And
Han.
And then film producers there. Exactly.
My brother-in-law is a famous Korean actor, Hang Fa Kim.
Nice.
No, seriously.
So I was really close. My goal there is I want to bring Stephan Bonnar and Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan to Korea. And my goal was, before COVID started, I wanted to get a show for the 8th Army.
This is my wife, Hang. This is Coach Michael Jones. There you go.
Hi.
He's
His
gonna move to
girlfriend's
Korea.
Korean,
Oh, really?
and he's been to Korea 3 times.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anya, haseyo.
Oh,
Put your head in the
안녕하세요.
camera. Yes.
안녕하세요.
Yeah.
Jantineo.
잘 지내요.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you, doctor?
Yeah.
This is for all our
Lord,
Korean
Joe,
listeners, for all our
Yeah.
Korean fan base.
That's right.
Yeah. 한국 order 조금합니다.
Oh, 잘하시네요. Very good. You did very good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. He wants to move to Korea.
Oh.
Yeah.
She'll have to give you some restaurants to go visit.
Oh,
Nice.
Okay. Thank you.
okay. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So her brother is a very well-known actor, Hang Fa Kim. He did Hang, The Terror Live. He did a lot of big movies over there. Assassination, very well known. Yeah. Yeah, we were there 2 years ago, right before COVID hit.
Yeah, I did too. It was in September then. Yeah, exactly. And then
Well-
we planning to go back every year, but those are on hold.
Well,
Well, we'll have to
big,
do the
dream
show
big.
from there. We'll have to have you do the show from Korea. That'd be a first for this show for sure.
Yeah, and you can check on my NGW Greenroom videos. I did a promo at the downtown at the fountains downtown in Korea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
I can share it on your page on this post for the show.
Please,
Yeah, absolutely.
please. Yeah. So does NGW have any matches that are online that people can watch?
Yeah, there is matches on there. Yes.
Okay, so maybe you should tell our fans how they can check it out.
You can go to the NGW Green Room on YouTube or Coach Mike Jones. I have my own page at Coach Mike Jones. And then we have hundreds of videos that I've interviewed over 100 wrestlers. Of course, Jay, Kevin, JJ Dillon, Nikolai Volkov, Bushwhacker Luke, let's see. I mean, tons of them. Like I say, they're on the NGW Green Room.
And you feel free to send any of those guys our way if they ever want to, get some coast-to-coast publicity. We're happy to promote them too. Anyone from NGW is welcome to be on our show as well.
Thank you.
And plug anything you'd like.
Okay, yeah, I'm at Facebook at Michael D. Jones. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Coach Mike Jones. Of course, I got my Real School Army, and like I say, I'm working on this book and the short stories, and of course, I got lots of dreams and plans. I want to make this thing go big. I'm definitely, it seems like with COVID, it killed a lot of stuff and a lot of people. I understand that, and it's not a pretty thing. But my heart is live and well, and I want to make this thing go all the way. I want to go to the moon. Well, I've worked at Blue Origin where
I don't think we get Skype on the moon. We're welcome to try, but I'm not sure we'd be able to get you if you were on the moon.
Now, ironically, I actually worked at Jeff Bezos' rocket plant called Blue Origin here in Kent, Washington.
Really?
Yes, and then he is going to the moon, and then I don't know if you've seen that he had an auction for someone to go up with him. Well, I have another goal there. Real School Army to do the first athletic thing on the moon. And then we're taking lottery for anybody who wants to challenge the Real School Army to be the first athletic performance on the moon.
Can you imagine how big a top rope splash is going to be with the low gravity? Like you'd probably be able to jump like about 150 feet up in the air before you land on your opponent. So that you're going to need a very high dome for whatever you guys are planning there.
Nice, yes.
The guy going with Bezos, he bid $28 million and he narrowly beat out Buddy Sotello with that.
Yeah, I was about 38 cents short.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next time. I'm saving my money for next time to see how it turns out. But it's really been great having you as a guest tonight. We'd love to have you in the future if you have something new to promote for the show. It would be great. We'd love to help you promote it. I really love your attitude on everything, and we really wish you the best of luck.
Man, it's been such an honor. I really appreciate it. I mean, I admire Evan so much in all the stuff he does and all the contacts
Thank you.
he's had. And I mean, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We're grateful you came on, and you have a great attitude and charisma. I mean, this past year's been rough, and we understand. It's been rough for you. It's been rough for all our guests, and but you have such a positive attitude. You could feel it, right, buddy?
Oh, I agree, and really appreciate you being able to share that with our listeners tonight. So we'll have you on again in the future, and until then, it's been a great show. We'll see everybody next week when we have some more great guests for you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you,
See
everybody.
everyone next week. Good night.
Thanks a million.